Hello, and welcome back to this almost completed Marchant. So pretty much the last thing we really have to do before finishing this is making this little window replacement there. So that's what I've done. It's out of whatever type, plexiglass type stuff. I'm not sure what's the name of this. Plascolite looks like. Doesn't really matter. This stuff is pretty thin. It seemed to match the original. You can see here's what was left of the original window. I've seen these change color, and I've seen them missing. I've never really seen what happened to this one, where it almost like disintegrated. It's kind of weird. Like the middle part just completely fell out of it, and then there were crumbs of it all over inside the machine. But anyway, so this is what I made, and just fits right up, and there like that. Should be fine. Ignore this white stuff, that's just some of the sanding dust underneath the protective coating, so that should come right off. And then behind it, it gets this piece, which is the mask for or part of the mask for the keyboard dials. So the sliding things will slide up down in here, and then that masks out. It only leaves one digit visible, whatever you've entered. So that just goes in behind it, and you can see the cutout there. It's indented, so it pushes it forward, and that is held on by the two screws that go through the top here for the decimal pointers. So you can see that the two screws there, they have little spaces on the back of them. They go through and then through that plate, and then they get nuts on the other side. So we'll install that. I still have to get pulled off my post machine. I have two red keys I'm going to put on there. Then I'm just going to clean the keycaps, and I think that should be pretty much it. We should be ready to do a demonstration. I did try and fix this. It's not 100% perfect. You can see it wobbles a little bit, but it should be good enough. I'm not worried about it falling out anymore. That was in shipping. This had gotten jammed down, and the pin that goes to is spinny. So there's a pin that goes to the middle of it, and the pressure on this, it kind of like almost pulled the pin out. The pin just put through and then just staked over on the other side. So I just held this end in and then staked it back over a little bit. So I think that should be fine. So I'm going to assemble this, and and we also have to put the decimal pointers back in for the keyboard. So I'll show those as well. Alright, so it's I got the window in there. Apparently the plexiglass or whatever that thing is that I chose has some kind of anti-glare coating on it, so it's not quite as clear as I would like, and the glare actually almost seems like it's worse than if it didn't have the anti-glare, but you can see in there at least, kind of. I can see this, the camera picking up the glare that you can see all the zeros and then 1, 2, 3 down there at the end. So maybe I might look into a different different type of plexiglass to put in there without the anti-glare coating, because I'm not a big fan of that, but for now it should work. The anti-glare actually makes it worse, I think, than not having anti-glare. The camera angle, let's see if you go, that's better. You can see it at that angle, but so yeah, I might have to change that. Anyway, so the next thing is the decimal pointers for the keyboard, and you can see they have this little finger at the end. That finger goes in a hole in the piece of metal underneath this bracket, or that sheet of metal there. So move this back. Again, the same cleaning applies for these as for the keyboard segments. Try and get them mostly clean, but if you go too far, you'll take the paint off. At least when I use rubbing alcohol, it does take the paint off. So these aren't going to be perfect. Maybe there's something better out there that won't take the paint off, but for now I'll go with this. Okay, so carrying on a memory there. I think we are done. I screwed this down. I pilfered 2 keys from my parts machine. It's not one of these, it's a Marchant KE parts machine, but the red buttons at the bottom of the keyboard were the same. So I took one for here and one for the clear key. Again, they should say clear on it, but the rest that we have, so that's what we'll go with. So I think we are done and ready for a demonstration. So we'll put it into add mode. Do 1, 2, 3. And yes, I know the camera is crooked. That's the only way I could get it so that there's not glare on here. So definitely going to be looking for a different piece of plastic to put in there. But anyway, for now, we got 1, 2, 3. And it does clear the keyboard, so that's good. And that is correct, 3330. We can clear this. We can clear this. So you can try a subtraction and we can do 67 or something. Add that in. And we can do, say, -8. And that works just fine. If we clear this out, we should get a ding if we carry all the way across. Oops. I should have subtracted 1 there. Let's try that again. 1. You can hear that bell. It's kind of faint, but it's there. Alright, so let's try multiplication. So let's do 625, multiplied by 625. So got 625 entered. We've got times here. Put it in multiplication mode. And we want to do 6. 2, 5. 625 times 625 is 390,625. So that's fine. Thought I cleaned that up. Maybe missed a little bit of dirt there. I'll have to go back and do that. But I can clean that through the little window, so that's fine. And we can try division. So we'll put this in division mode. Slide this all the way over. Make sure it's locked in, which it is. Clear that. You can do 355. Clear that. Divided by 113. And here we go. We're just going to subtract until we hear the bell and then add back. Oops. Went too far. So we add back. Shift over. Went too far again. I've done this before, but usually my issue is by the time I hear the bell ring, I've already started the next cycle. And because it has that little ratchet mechanism up there, you can't go backwards once you start the cycle. So you have to complete the cycle and then go back 2 cycles. But anyway. So that's how I got it, right? And that time I went too far again. And the shaking of the table has just knocked the index over. That's fine. Oops. Now I went 3 cycles too far. I was distracted about my Windex on the floor. And here we go. 3.14159292. That is correct. So I think that just about wraps up this repair series. I'm definitely satisfied with how this came out. It's nice and smooth. Everything works. This is really smooth. I like that. Operation is very smooth in total. This knob here, something I noticed is you have to be careful with this. If you push this in and grab it by this knob, it's very easy, I found, if you're sliding all the way over, to pinch your thumb in between the knob and the side of the case there. Because see, that's it all the way over. So if you got your thumb in there, it's going to be pinched. So there's something to watch out for on that. They later changed from having a release on the side and this knob to having a grabber here where you grab it and it releases, then you can drag it this way, which is a much better solution, but this is the earlier design here. So I'm definitely satisfied with this. So let's compare this now to other machines from the same time period that were made by Marchant. Oh, I forgot to mention, these are your keyboard decimal pointers. So you can set it up here. So say I want the decimal point between position 3 and 2, so I'd have like, these are my dollars and these are my cents. I can also put it here, and then that's a visual indicator down here on the keyboard as well. That's all that's about. But yeah, then satisfied how that came out. So let's do that comparison to its contemporaries. Alright, so I don't know how to get all these in shot, but basically what we have here is the KE that we just fixed, the XL in the middle, and the XLA all over there, that side. So as you can see, the KE basically looks like an XL with a keyboard attached, and it basically is. If you want, you can go back and watch the video series. I think I have 2 videos rebuilding the XL. I bought it from eBay, one of my subscribers. It was all in pieces, and we fixed it and put it back together. Now that XL had a much worse pinwheel drum, a much worse counter carry drum than the KE. And that one, the XL, was so bad that basically I ended up kind of like chiseling out the bad sections to make space for the counter increment tooth to pass by. It does not clear that out. Let's clear that out. So yeah, that one was much worse, and chiseling out some of the pieces of the drums to get it to work right, get clearance. But it came out together and it works fine, and all the carries work. So helps if I'm all the way. Or maybe will this fit? No. The table is not big enough. So now, still see that? Kind of. You can see it carries all the way across, so no issues, works. Slide this a little bit. So basically, the XLA is kind of like a cheaper version. As you can see, it has the counter down here and not up top like the XL and the KE. And then of course the EA and the electric ones after that, basically they took the K series, the either KC or KE, because as far as I can tell, the KC and the KE are basically the same machine, and they attached the motor drive to the back of it. Now I do have a EA, which is the first electric one, but unfortunately it's not here right now, so I can't do a comparison, but I have a video series on that too if you want to go back and watch. You can see how the electric drive interfaces with the mechanism in that series. That's from a couple years ago now, I think. Anyway, so yeah, basically the KE, they raised it up. You can see how this is taller. So they lengthened the length of the castings to raise it up to make space for the keyboard mechanism to travel underneath and up around to the back. And then basically, instead of having these levers to move the segments, they had gear teeth on the inside of the segments, and then the keyboard connects to a rocker which has teeth on it to drive the segments from the keyboard. And you can see, like here we have the display window here for what digit you're setting, whereas on the XL they have it up here. So basically you can read it right there what you've set. Other than that, the principle of operation is the same. They just replaced these levers with the keyboard mechanism. You can see they got the same carry or counter clear here, and the carriage release. The crank handle's in the same position, and the accumulator crank clearing there. Now the KA is a different machine. The pinwheel, I don't say pinwheel, it's not really a pinwheel, it's a modified pinwheel, or moving segment is technically the correct term, but some people call it modified pinwheel. Anyway, the main moving segment drum operates on the same principle. You set these wherever you want, and then when you turn the handle, it changes the timing of when the moving segment pops out. I don't know if I explained that in this series, how that actually works. But you can go back and watch this or that series, and I go over and demonstrate how that actually works. And in this one, we actually took apart the main drum because two of these little colored tabs on the top had broken off, and you could barely even grab the stub coming out. So I took the whole drum apart and soldered on new tabs and then made new little nubs to grab onto and painted them. They're not perfect, but works fine. Much better to grab that than trying to grab the little tiny nub, but anyway, it's not the point. You can go back and watch this video if you want to see the main drum taken apart. And the main drum is going to be pretty similar to what's in there and in there, just a little bit bigger, I think. I think the pitch between columns is slightly narrower on this machine than those two. So it's the same principle, just a little bit smaller pieces. But and then the counter here does not have tens carry. So you see, if you go one direction, it's counting over there. This would actually be the home position here, add directly down in. So you see, if I go one direction, it counts up in black numbers. If I go the other direction, it counts up in red numbers. Basically the same way as what the Bundesligas did, where instead of having tens carry, you just have two sets of digits on each wheel, black for counting additions and red for counting subtractions. So kind of the irony of this is a cheaper machine, and this machine actually does not suffer from the issues that the XL does and the KE does with the counter carry drum, because there is no counter carry drum. So it's kind of ironic that the cheaper machine is actually more reliable than the more expensive and fancy machines. Anyway, something else interesting to note is that the KE and the XL both use aluminum castings for the base and the sides. However, this machine seems to use cast iron, and you can really tell the difference. Like, you go to pick up that machine, and of course it's not a light machine, it's a good amount of material there, but you go to pick up this machine, even though it's smaller, it feels heavier than the XL. Because this whole piece here is a big fat block of cast iron. Obviously it's not solid, it's like, it's hollow on the inside, but definitely a much heavier machine than it had to be if they'd used aluminum. You can even tell, like here where the paint's worn off, it's darker, versus where the paint's worn off on here, you can see the nice shiny aluminum underneath. This one definitely has seen a lot of use, this XL. You can tell by how the plating is worn off of the shifter and worn off there and pretty much worn off there, versus the KE, the counter clear, still pretty shiny yet. They actually did chrome plate a good amount of these pieces. Like this plate here is chrome plated. The plates on the bottom of the carriage are chrome plated. I believe this whole bottom casting was chrome plated. You can see how it's nice and shiny there, and then kind of like on the edges where the chrome plating has worn off, either chrome or nickel, something like that, something shiny. And like you can tell here, either this was never plated or it's really worn off. You can see, look how that locks in nice and solid, barely any movement. You can see the movement there, so this one's definitely seen a decent amount of use. And the final thing I want to point out is the difference in the logos. You can see how this one looks like it would just be a brass logo. This one, someone's polished. Obviously, it hasn't stayed that shiny for nearly 100 years. This one, though, is inlaid with red. So I don't know if that's like indicates a slightly different time period. Like maybe, this is early 20s, this is late 20s. Not exactly sure, but I definitely like this logo better with the inlaid red. I'm not sure if these were supposed to be inlaid and that's worn off or what. I don't know, but anyway, I think that's gonna be about it for this video. yeah, I'm definitely satisfied with how that came out. Works really smooth. Yeah, there's really nothing more I can say on that. So hope you enjoyed this video, or this video series. This is the end of the series. So hope you enjoyed the whole series, and thank you for watching.